Okay, here goes nothing. I'll go grab the tank and hopefully it just slurps itself right in there. So the last one, I did have to trim, and I'm gonna have to do that on this one too. I just have to trim the wing of it. Oh, I got it stuck. I don't wanna launch myself out the back of the chassis here. So let's try. This is how the old one used to have to go in. Like this. Okay, so the casing itself, plenty of room, but we are gonna have to trim this flange right here. So you can see that's a little proud of the chassis right there on both sides. It fits inside the frame rails this way. She's tight, but it fits. Man, I wish I would have just went ahead and made this flange this width the whole way. So, all right, well, we gotta fire up the old skinny wheel real quick. All right, let's do some hacking. I think we'll take, you know what, I'm just gonna make it the same all the way down. That way, it's just even. See, like I said, we're not professionals at this, we just don't know how to do it wrong. Did you know your speed squares come with a little scribe in the end? If you didn't, well, now you know. Sorry, sliding T-square, not a speed square. Need my cooking apron. So if you were betting that it wasn't going to fit on the first shot, good job. You win. To be honest, kind of had my doubts myself. Only because I remember grinding that other one down like 2 nights before we left the hammers or something like that. After it was all painted, we went to put it in and didn't fit. see. Okay, we're looking good, and I need to radius, so I had to do this on the other one too, and I kind of knew we were going to do that on this one for sure. I just didn't want to do it in the wrong spot. So you got to trim, or not trim, but right there, I'll put a small radius in it so it drops down inside the tube. So let's mark it out and get that done. Let's see if I can put this thing back up here while it's filming. Just remember, I'm not a freaking film guy by trade. I'm just a welder. Just burn metal together and make stuff that apparently doesn't, you know, it's not gonna work or fit. So we're gonna come in right here. And right here, we're going to bring that into about 1/8 of an inch on both sides. This should be enough for it to drop down in the hole. I'm feeling good about this, guys. Feeling good about it. Oh, Jesus, there's a fucking tool there. Trimming done, coming in. So I put, this is the first trim on it. Actually second, because we had to cut those ends and then tailored it. Thank God, I was done messing with that thing. So yeah, there we go. So let's check a couple things really quick. I had mentioned prior that we're gonna have to trim the saddle just a skosh, right? It's no biggie. So this little guy goes in here. So we'll have to do a little bit of trimming on that one, a little bit of trimming on this one. So I'll have to, I might actually have to spend tonight maybe getting this all fitted exactly how it used to. But it looks like we're gonna be able to, so that's pretty cool. Well, I was gonna do the transmission cross member, or not cross member, but transmission cooler next. But I think it'd probably be best if we get these modified, so that way that part is just done. Otherwise it might get forgotten and then be like, hey, let's go race this weekend. Oh shit, fuel cell's not in. So anyway, that's the new all 1/8 inch aluminum TIG welded bladder. It's in. So we just got to modify these pieces next. Well, that went way better and way faster than expected. I thought for sure I was gonna have to do some cutting, some trimming, but I didn't. I was actually fortunate enough to take the top mechanism and put it in my sheet metal brake backwards, taped it all up, and then just gave her the old chai, pulled back on it, and was able to remove the amount of bend that we lost our fitment on for the thickness of this tank. So I got it all mocked up in here right now. Everything's gonna work. Tranny cooler is just mocked up in there, but all the bolts are in. So that's a big relief. Even though nothing drastic changed, other than this tank is not the tank box that all of this, I mean everything, the radiator, the mount mechanism, the tranny cooler, all was built around the other box. So I think we're good to go. And yeah, I'll save the holes for Hammy. So on to the next thing. We got to get Betty White fully cleaned up. Now this motor is not going back in to race again, but it's going back in to do the mock-up and stuff I was talking about. So I would like to get that fully cleaned up, get the headers cleaned, get those on, get onto that exhaust. But Betty White is going to make a comeback. Matter of fact, we've been talking, my buddy Dave. So the new motor that we're running, that we're going to put in here, it's more of a high performance. I'd say guys would use it more in a drag race application. Now I know it'll live, but the valve train in those motors is one thing they lack on conventional small blocks for higher RPM for a sustained amount of time. So I'm going to run it a couple times this summer and see how it runs, see how it is, how its mannerisms are. But we have been talking about taking Betty White and freshening it and putting it back in just to race hammers, because it's still a pretty healthy little small block. You know, it makes 440 horse right there, 445, but the block is filled with Moroso Quickcrete. It doesn't run cooling in the block, just up to the bottom of the water pump, or from the bottom of the water pump down, it's full of concrete. It never really was a cooling issue to begin with, but I figured if we're going to redo it, let's put it in a block that has 100% of the cooling. The cylinder head on cylinder number 7 or exhaust valve is slightly damaged when we lost the push rod at King of the Hammers. So it needs to be freshened up. It was supposed to be put together, or the motor was put together, and it was supposed to go to King of the Hammers, come home, pull the motor out, put a big motor in. That was 3 years ago, and a lot of miles of beating the shit out of it later. So we're gonna freshen it regardless, and then we'll make a decision when it gets way down the road. I think it's 10 months from now, hammers roughly. We'll decide what bolt we're going to run. Either we'll run the big one, take Betty White for a backup, or we'll put the big one in, run it, or put Betty White in, run it, take the other one for backup. So we'll see. But let's get on to cleaning that motor and getting it back in so we can do some more fab work. Freedom flutes are cleaned up, ready to go back in. Betty White's back in. What else do we do? Put the number plates on the back just temporarily. We're going to pretty much be putting this rig almost all the way back together, and it comes back apart again. And then I finished up the oil bottle tonight since we got all the parts from Powder Coat back. So once we put the new motor in for good and the grill and everything goes back in, that'll go in there. So now that Betty White is back in, the tranny and transfer case can go in, the headers can go on, the exhaust can go on, the coolant tubes can go in, coolant tubes can get modified. We're going to remove back in the corner back there are some steel tubes. I want to make those aluminum now that the bypasses aren't there. We're going to fix that dent in the exhaust. Then we're probably going to start at the motor, actually work our way back. So we'll do dent and exhaust, install the coolant tubes, build the firewall, build the sheet metal underneath the cowling, look at the floors. I'm not sure if I want to tackle the floors right now because I'd only have a few more days left on this, and that I want those a certain way. So those will probably be when we bring the rig back in. But and same with the coolant tubes. We'll see how much I have in stock. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for now. And when we jump back on here again, I'll try to get some good video of doing some aluminum sheet metal work. So just keep in mind that we are not professionals at this, but we are learning more and more every day on how to do it wrong.